What up, though, y'all? It's your boy Shane G. We are back once again with Politics as Usual right here on the Ethos Media Network. Make sure you like, you share, you subscribe. Definitely share. That's the important one right there. Definitely share. If you like the content, subscribe. You know what I mean? I don't want people to subscribe if you don't actually like what we're doing. But if you like what we're doing, please subscribe. And if you believe in anything that we're saying, if you believe in any of the particular messages that you've run across on our channel, whether it be on Politics as Usual or whether it be on OTI, Open to Interpretation, um, just share the episodes with your people, start some discussions, you know what I mean? But what we're here to talk about today is the whole Elon Musk Twitter free speech situation going on right now, right? So pretty much people are leaving Twitter in droves. And the reason why is because Elon Musk did what he said he was going to do with the Twitter takeover, which was allow for free speech. Um, Free speech that doesn't break the law, which technically wouldn't be free speech at that point, right? So that's pretty much what he was saying. He was saying, look, if it's cool under the First Amendment, it's going to be cool on Twitter. That's just what it is. Um, and so people are now experiencing that. They're starting to see what that's actually like, and they don't like it because um, they don't like it because a lot of times free speech is hate speech. Now all free speech is not hate speech. I think a lot of people have done a good job of making you automatically tie one to the other, so they make you scared of the concept of free speech. Um, but I feel like the alternative to having people be allowed to say whatever they want as long as it doesn't break the law. The alternative to that is what we've been seeing over the last few years, which is you have, a few people who run these tech companies, whether it be Facebook, Twitter with Jack, um, any number of them, any number of the social media websites that we use on a regular basis, Google, um, they are right now in charge of what is and what is not free speech. They are in charge of what is and what is not hate speech. They are in charge of who is allowed to have a voice and who is not. So the issue then becomes, okay, obviously nobody likes hate speech, clearly. Like that's not, you know what I mean? Except for the people who are doing it. You know what I mean? But like regular people, they're not cool with hate speech. You know what I'm saying? It kind of makes you just have a viscerally ugly reaction when you hear, those type of words. So for the people in that category who want to see all that, who are asking, the tech giants or whatever, what are you gonna do about it? That's where it gets iffy for me. Cause it's like if you're asking them what are they gonna do about it, you're basically saying we need you guys to control speech. And I don't know how that's gonna work. So let's go through this article. Um it was on the View. They were speaking about leaving Twitter pretty much. The View, they were all speaking about leaving Twitter, and it's because of this. So let's pull up the article right here. All right, there we go. So, raw story. Let's pull this up. It's becoming a hellscape. The View debates dumping Twitter over Elon Musk's mismanagement. This is written by Sarah Burris. So let's get into it. Alyssa Milano was once a big fan of Elon Musk and a proud Tesla owner, but that has changed. Speaking to the co-host of The View on Tuesday, explained why Musk was no longer who she thought he was. For me too, when he was accused of sexual misconduct and paid out $250,000 to this person, I decided I can't live in that hypocrisy of that, driving that car, when that happened, she said. I'm kind of I'm so annoyed with all these billionaires, especially with Elon Musk. You buy Twitter to destroy it for $44 billion. Imagine if he donated that money to UNICEF. He would have changed the world. There would be no hunger. Now, I actually agree with that point. That's actually probably the only point that I mainly agree with. Now, obviously, rich people can do whatever they want with their money, but we do know, we went over ago, how much it would actually cost to end homelessness, how much it would cost to, put people in college for free, all these different things, right? Um, so Alyssa Milano, I actually think is correct in that assessment. Not the fact that he's destroying Twitter, but the fact that he could have donated that money to UNICEF and ended world hunger. That part is true. So Milano has been an ambassador to UNICEF for 2 decades, striving to help children in areas where there is a serious conflict and war zone. He could go in his pocket and donate that money, said Whoopi Goldberg, who recently left Twitter. It wouldn't cost 40 billion, but these guys, Milano trailed off. Now, here's the thing. I agree that he could do that, and that would be a better use of his money, but that is more of a systemic thing. I don't think that necessarily should be put on one individual, even if it is the richest individual in the world. I feel like that's a systemic thing that needs to be addressed. That's a government job. That's things like that. That's not necessarily really on one person to do that. So there's loads of electric cars coming on the market, Joy Behar quipped, for folks who want an affordable alternative to Tesla without all the baggage of labor rights, sexual harassment allegations, and other scandals. So basically, they're saying if you want a Tesla, but you don't like Elon, there's other versions of it. Musk has denied the allegations against him of sexual misconduct, saying that they are utterly untrue. And it doesn't look like that ever went to court. So, it's kind of weird when they're just labeling him a sexual harasser, a sexual deviant of some kind when, he wasn't ever found guilty of anything as far as I know. So it looks like they're just allegations at this point. What happens if things continue the way they are on Twitter? I think it's become a hellscape, said Sonny Hostin. Milano noted that she's always been a target for trolls, though she confessed she always opens Twitter with trepidation, fearful of what she will see, describing it like she needs a helmet on. Why don't you just stay off Twitter? Like, if it's that bad for you, like, I do that. When I get really annoyed at the people that I see on my timeline, and I'm like, oh, y'all are doing this bullshit again. Whenever I feel like that, I get off Twitter for a few days or a week or whatever. Like, fearful of what she will see, like she needs a helmet on. Okay. Goldberg noted that one solution is simply to leave the platform as she did. Yeah, if you hate it that much, that would be the solution. Milano said that she doesn't want to cede territory to the troll war. She treats it like a turf war. Goldberg maintained that there are other options, but Milano maintained that she refuses to allow the bots and extremists to have the power. If we're not representing our side of the political discourse, aren't we just saying, you know what, you can have Twitter, she posed? Yeah, that is what you would be saying. So that's why it's better to have the discourse rather than, oh, all these people that I don't like are on this platform now, let me leave. Like, that means you really don't believe in your ideas. That's what that sounds like to me. Like, or just follow different spaces. You know what I mean? Like, there's different, like, you don't have to follow political Twitter. Like, that's only really like one segment of Twitter. Like, there's all types of other Twitter accounts that you could be following if you want to just enjoy yourself and have entertainment. Like, if you're talking politics, it's always going to be ugly, no matter what platform you use. If you go on Facebook, it gets ugly. If you're on Twitter, it gets ugly. Whenever you're discussing philosophical beliefs, ideologies, religion, political discourse, anything of that nature, it's always going to get ugly at some point if you disagree. If you're talking to somebody you disagree with, those type of beliefs are always like the most passionate beliefs that human beings have. So of course it's going to get ugly. And some people resort to slinging mud when it gets ugly. That's just a part of life, though. You know what I mean? So again, if you can't deal with that, you should leave Twitter, or you should maybe just put close the app for a little while. Like maybe just don't open it for a little bit. That would be my advice. I'll tell you, some things you have to walk away from until you can get the control you need of it, countered Goldberg. Right now, there's no way to get this control. So find the ones that you can get and fix, and then come back and run that run over. What Whoopi Goldberg is suggesting is that until Twitter starts shutting down accounts that we don't like, and until Twitter starts censoring people's thoughts that we don't like again, we should leave and go somewhere else where they do that. That's what she's saying. Kind of nuts. Let's continue. The co-hosts all agree that it remains an individual choice based on self-care and what's best for them. I agree with that. Musk has spent the past several weeks attacking corporations that no longer want to advertise on Twitter, saying that they're against the First Amendment by not giving money to the site anymore. Twitter has lost most of its employees, and the site has grown increasingly glitchy since. The new CEO spends most of his time online attacking people, making fun of others, and then calling for civility. Watch the video below or at this link. Okay. All right. So, with all of that, pretty much what I want to say is, again, what do you do about that? What is the control that you're looking for? Again, what Whoopi Goldberg is saying, she's saying until you can get control of the people and the speech and what's being said on there, we should all use a different platform that does do those things. So essentially, she's calling for internet safe spaces. Like that's basically what that is. Again, if it offends you that much that people are saying the N word and it is what it is, I understand. I don't like hearing it either. I don't like racial slurs. That's not cool. Like, you know what I'm saying? If somebody said that to me in person, you know, it's probably going to go a different way. You know what I mean? But I definitely, it has in the past, in fact. So, you know what I mean? But I still think that the person should be legally allowed to say what they want. Like, they're allowed to hate whoever they want. You know what I'm saying? I'm not a fan of police. Now, granted, it's different because you choose to be a police officer. You don't choose to be born into whatever culture or background you're in. So it is a different thing. But you're allowed to hate groups. You know what I'm saying? Like, legally speaking. I'm not saying that you should hate ethnic or, you know, minority groups or anything like that. I'm saying that that's a thing that's allowed. You're allowed to express your displeasure about whatever group you want. What I think it happens as a result of that is people expose themselves. It's like, oh, now I know who you are. Cool. I know how to deal with you appropriately. I can either just choose to avoid you or just not take anything that you say serious. You know what I mean? When Ben Shapiro said all Arabs like to do is live in feces and bomb crap or whatever he said on Twitter a few years back, at that point I knew, oh, I can't take anything this dude says serious. You know what I'm saying? Like, it had nothing to do with the fact that he was a Republican or a right winger or nothing like that, because there are some Republicans and right wingers who, if you're making a decent point, or you're, even if I don't agree with it, if I can come to a reasonable conclusion based on what you're laying out, then all right, you know what I'm saying? But like when you say stuff like that, then obviously I can't really believe anything else that you say, because now I know you're being hyperbolic on purpose. Or if you really feel like that, then you truly are bigoted and I don't want to listen to what you got to say anyway. You know what I mean? But that's my choice to come to that conclusion based on the information being out there for me to decipher that. If you just took Ben Shapiro's Twitter away when he said that, then I would never have any basis for my reasons for not wanting to watch him. You get what I'm saying? Like, if I didn't know anything about Ben Shapiro, that tweet comes out and then it gets deleted, and then I later hear about Ben Shapiro, I might watch his videos and actually take him at face value. But because I know, based on that tweet that was available for the public, I know that he either is very bigoted towards Middle Eastern people and Arabs specifically, because Israel You know what I mean? Is Middle East, and he loves them, obviously. So, um, but if I had no knowledge of who he was and I never saw that tweet, I might just take him at his word. And I'm happy that the information was out there freely for me to see so that I can make that decision for myself. And I think that's what it all comes down to. It comes down to adults making decisions for themselves. What information applies to you? What information do you think is true? Compare it to reality as it plays out, and then see if you were right or wrong. Like that's science, technically. You get what I'm saying? Like we should all be living somewhat scientifically. Like that doesn't necessarily mean we got to be out here conducting experiments and playing with beakers and wearing white lab coats and all of that kind of stuff. But what it does mean is just ask questions. And when you ask the question, actually seek out the answer. Start with a thing that you think. That's called a hypothesis. I think this is what's going to happen based on this set of circumstances. All right, cool. Then you can either wait for those set of circumstances to play out to see if you were right or not, or not. You know what I mean? You can choose that at that point. But I think you should see if the results play out the way that you think they would, because then that'll inform your decision making in the future, which is science. That's the whole premise of science. So, with all that being said, I don't want a group of rich people at the very top, Elon Musk, Mark Zuckerberg, the dude who owns Google and YouTube. You know what I mean? I don't want them making the decisions for us as far as what can and can't be out there. Again, if it's illegal, it's already illegal. You can't threaten people. You can't slander people. You can't libel people. And you can't do doxing. And I know I say that a lot, but I don't know if everyone knows what doxing is. Doxing is when you put somebody's personal information on the internet. So, like, if I'm beefing with somebody on Twitter and then I find out their address and then I put their address out there and then I find out their Instagram handle and I attach that Instagram handle to their address and I find out their phone number and then I post that. And you get what I'm saying? That's doxing. That's like, because at that point you are putting that person in danger for somebody else maybe to go approach them. You get what I'm saying? So doxing should be illegal. It is. But those are the four things. That's it. Direct threats of violence. Yeah, you can't say, yo, tomorrow when I see you, I'm going to shoot you. That's it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm going to take that threat serious as anybody would. You know what I'm saying? So that's where the direct threats of violence doesn't come in. You know what I'm saying? That's why that's protected, or why that's not protected under the First Amendment. Slander and libel, very similar. One's spoken, one's written. But it's pretty much attributing things to somebody that they said that they didn't actually say, or quoting somebody in a way that they didn't actually say that. So you're misrepresenting whatever their thought is on purpose to cause damage. That's the idea behind it. And that the reason why that's hard to prove is because it's always hard to prove intent. It's hard to prove whether or not you just genuinely thought some information was correct or you put it out there, or if you were purposely trying to damage somebody by putting something out there. So it's a little bit harder to sort of marry those two. You get what I'm saying? Or it's a little harder rather to convict on those grounds for libel or slander, because it's hard to prove the intent, and that is a piece of it that has to be proven. So yeah, man, like I feel like that's free speech. And yes, more groups are going to be targeted with hate speech. That's definitely going to happen. It's already happened again. The day Elon took over and said free speech is back, you know what I'm saying? It was a 500 increase in N-word usage that day. So that's part of the territory. You get what I'm saying? But if you're black in America, you already know that's how a lot of people feel. It's not a surprise to you. You know what I'm saying? Like, we've been saying this whole time. That's what the whole Black Lives Matter thing was about. Like, yo, it's different for us. You know what I'm saying? Like, we're trying to tell y'all it's different for us. Like, that was the whole thing. And, 500% increase in the N-word, I think that's a good evidence to show that we haven't been lying. People really hate us for no reason. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's definitely real. So, but I think you got to take that in order to not cover up medical misinformation or political misinformation. You get what I'm saying? Like, you know, the only reason that Russiagate was able to be followed as specifically, and the only reason that I knew from the very beginning that it was probably nonsense was because of the openness of reporters like Aaron Mate and people like that who were, actually digging, doing the hard work to see whether or not there was an actual connection there or not. And it turns out there wasn't one. And then the Mueller report came out and there wasn't a connection. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, but without, but at that point, the media and the whole government was saying, no, this for sure happened. So if we're applying the same censorship rules that we've been using over the last year or so to that time, then nobody gets those news articles from the gray zone or from you get what I'm saying? Like that basically proved what Mueller was going to say way before he ever said he came out and had to do his deposition in front of, Congress or whatever it was, right? So all I'm saying is you have to keep the free flow of information out there. It's those four things. Don't allow those four things: doxing, direct threats, slander, libel. That's it. Outside of that, you got to let it fly. Otherwise, you're always going to be playing favorites depending on what side of the aisle you sit on or, whatever political label you put on yourself. You get what I'm saying? So, it's always going to be a thing where if somebody's dissing minorities, lefties are going to come out and think that person should be censored, and right wingers are going to encourage them to continue saying the things that they're saying. You know what I mean? Like, but then there's also a weird blurry line sometimes where I think people have misunderstandings or questions about things, and that is automatically conflated with some sort of phobia or bigotry towards groups. You get what I'm saying? It's like sometimes it's like, yeah, but this was when I was taught this for 20 years of my life. This was how this worked. You know what I'm saying? There was this, and that was pretty much that. And now you're telling me that there's all this extra stuff that I'd never even heard of before. Okay, let me try to learn it. I might mess up a little bit along the way. And in that messing up, you're getting labeled a bigot, a blank phobe, whatever. You know what I mean? So I do feel like there's a degree of that. And that leads to censorship unnecessarily a lot of times. And that, I don't like that kind of stuff because I feel like I should be able to ask questions. If I'm really about trying to gain understanding and, really trying to empathize with somebody's plight, I have to ask questions because if I'm not in that same group, I don't know what you're going through necessarily outside of what the media tells me. You know what I'm saying? That doesn't discuss how you feel on a day to day. That doesn't tell me your personal interactions with your family members and how they feel about whatever. You know what I mean? It's not that. It's there's no there's no room for discussion at all really when it comes to certain issues, and I feel like that is a problem. So to the ladies of the View, once again, didn't Whoopi Goldberg get suspended based on her speech because she asked a question about the thing that happened in Germany? I don't want to say what it's called because I don't, YouTube is weird about like different words and stuff. So I'm not gonna. But you guys know what I'm talking about. It was a very horrible thing that happened in Germany and in Europe in the 40s. Right. Okay. So I want to know because when she said, well, that wasn't racist because it was all white people that were involved. That was just hatred, based on maybe his religion or whatever, but that wasn't racist per se. And then she got suspended for that. Remember? Suspended without pay. So Whoopi, you of all people know that if you ask the wrong question or say the wrong thing, that they'll take your money. You know that. So all I'm saying is maybe you should put yourself in other people's shoes or put other people in your shoes, however the phrase goes, and maybe you can just, be a little bit more compassionate towards people who want to discuss things openly, and not have to face crazy consequences. Again, I think we all know like obvious things, like, you know what I'm saying? Direct, again, it's the four things. That's really it. Like outside of that, people are gonna get their feelings hurt. And that's part of life. You know what I'm saying? You can't really protect people from that, you know? And again, if you want to protect yourself from that, all you got to do is not be on the platform. It's really that simple. There are other platforms, that you can use if you don't want to engage in the conversation. And that's perfectly fine. Like everybody's not comfortable having all these conversations. Some people they feel how they feel. And if you don't feel like they feel, they don't get it. They're like, I don't even understand why you don't see what I'm saying. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's like if you're, to them, it's almost like if you're explaining to somebody 1+1=2, and the other person's like, no. And you're like, wait, what? Like, you know what I'm saying? That's almost how a lot of people feel when it comes to politics. It's like, well, obviously my opinion is the correct one. So if you're saying the opposite, then you're a horrible person. Like, that's pretty much where we're at now. Like, it's kind of crazy. But hopefully shows like this will, break some of those barriers so that way people realize we actually do have a lot more in common. Most of this is really about class. And as a result of that, a lot of times racial minorities are the worse off victims of that because of also systemic racism. Systemic racism and class a lot of times are very much tied together. So, but one thing that we do all have is speech and ideas and thoughts and communication. So if that ever gets blocked off, then what do we have? I'm going to leave you with that. This is your boy Shane G. This has been Politics as Usual right here on the Ethos Media Network. Make sure you like, you share, you subscribe. I'll catch y'all next week. I hope everybody had a happy holiday also. Happy Thanksgiving. Christmas is coming up if you celebrate. Hanukkah's coming up if you celebrate. Kwanzaa's coming up if you celebrate. Yeah. Hope y'all are enjoying the holidays, man. Till next week. Peace.